Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. Today's topic: a legal immigrant caught with thousands of fentanyl pills. But is he a people of color? Today's topic again is a legal immigrant caught with thousands of fentanyl pills. It's a question mark in a second. But he is a people of color, right? Unfortunately, because I can't keep saying this enough, because the system of supremacy, which is the most awesome mental manipulation force that has ever existed, and they have made sure to designate American blacks, with few exceptions, as a people to be culturally bullied, to just say anything, to use any type of agenda, any type of tactics. And supremacists know that there will be quite a number of American blacks that's going to fall for it. Just like in this topic here, there's just not too many, unfortunately, numbers of American blacks at the number it should be on. It's only a small percentage that understand the deadliness and the demographic onslaught that's going on with border breaking, illegal immigrant type personnel. And even when you try to relay over the information to the personnel, say numbers of American blacks, and about what's going on in reality, this is what, unfortunately, sometimes you hear quite a number of American blacks do this.
Sorry, Kevin Bacon wasn't in Footloose. What? Of course he was. No, he wasn't. You lose. Of course he was. He was the star. Nope, you're wrong. Look it up. I don't have to look it up. It's common knowledge. He was on the cover of People magazine when the movie. Everyone knows Kevin Bacon was the star of Footloose. It was a huge movie. He was the lead. No.
Yes, yes. This is unfortunately a non-small percentage of American blacks act just like that. When you relate information over, oh, I don't want to hear all that. Oh, that had nothing to do with me directly. And no other culture does that. No other background, no other ethnicity, no other term lifestyle category, et cetera, et cetera. No one else does that. And even again, in this type of topic, that a border breaker, illegal immigrant, was caught with thousands of fentanyl pills, question mark, but is he a people of color? Because every day supremacists are talking among each other saying, hey, look at this Negro on the news, or Negro in some kind of article, or however it goes, saying that and call themselves people of color and minority. That is some black pain type mentality, to say such illogicalness, to call an American black, to call themselves a people of color and minority. When you have this border breaker, illegal immigrant personnel will be considered a people of color and a minority. Where are these border breakers that were associated with this right here? This is called colored. And you got numbers of American blacks walk around, call themselves people of color and minorities. When this is all, when black folks already were called colored specifically already, not long time ago in history, and had a waiting room, and certain restaurants had to go to colored restaurants, and colored bathrooms and different things like that, colored facilities. And you got people that breaking border immigration laws every darn day. And you got numbers of American blacks calling them two people of color. You got personnel doing immigrant uh, traveling, be it legal or illegal, and numbers of American blacks calling them people of color and minority as well, based upon looking at they may have a little bit of shade of darkness or shade of light brown, so shade a little bit white brown or wherever it is, and they'll call them people of color and minority. And even this particular topic, the picture you saw of this border breaker, he would be considered a people of color and minority. And unfortunately, numbers of American blacks do not understand what is heading toward American blacks' direction. Let me sit there and show you something. This happens every day somewhere. This happens every day. Give me one moment, because this cannot be shown enough either. That's happening every day. What's to say is somebody like, give me a second, give me one moment. Somebody just like this border breaker. Oh, I don't want to, anyway. Like that picture in the image of that border breaker. How many of them do that? How many? And then you'll have some border breakers and pro legal immigrant personnel and et cetera, organizations, numbers of political figures. We got to sit there and help them out. You got things going on with the wink wink migrant scenario going on in Chicago. Chicago being overall, obviously, American blackism, right? And how many political personnel falling all over chairs, still trying to help out border breakers, or should I say, pseudo border breaking pseudo version, but at the same time slot under a banner of calling migrants, right? Utilizing the same can't response, right? Responses. We are trying to get away from violence upon ourselves or our family members and things like that. Next wave. We're trying to see if it comes to the border. The other personnel, the other border breaker, wink, wink, pseudo migrant personnel, they're moved on to buses and planes and everything like that. They go send them off to different places in different states to their sponsors and other organizations. The next wave, hey, we're trying to escape, going to the border. Hey, we're trying to escape violence and things like that from ourselves and for against ourselves and our family member. Next wave, and this is what supremacist does every day when they sit there and see these black Negroes don't understand overall what we doing. And unfortunately, quite a number of American blacks do not understand that one of the uh, top plans that supremacists is doing on a daily basis is utilizing also border breaking illegal immigration personnel to sit there and slowly and slowly and slowly uh, make border breaking personnel and other groups of people who know they are where about their demographics are growing more and more, more and more. And American blacks don't even realize this. And so, unfortunately, this is why I say American blacks only have half a generation to one generation left for the overall complete destruction of the American black culture. Yes. Because unfortunately, again, quite a number of American blacks do not realize there's a demographical onslaught that's happening even more. For however generations, right? Easily a century, a couple of centuries. There are three main demographics within the US: whites, or what we consider wink wink whites. You have blacks or American blacks, not personnel that's tethering or attaching or running as fast as possible from numbers of places from Africa or places from the Caribbean or any other places. I'm not talking about the good number of people. I'm not talking about the good ones. So I'm not gonna play that game. To my specifically American blacks. So at least a couple of centuries easily, the three largest cultures demographic wise was whites, what we consider whites, two, American blacks, and three, what we call Native Americans. And then that changed. And then slowly they start allowing numbers of Hispanics, which is very generic, which Hispanics, because there's Afro-Hispanic personnel, right? Just like there's numbers of Afro-Asiatic personnel. Now around plus or minus around the year 2000 plus or minus, now whites, and you got ones that are considered honorary whites that slide under the white banner. You got two American black, excuse me, two. Now you have Hispanics that have bypassed American blacks. And now three, you have American blacks and four as Asians, which are slowly but surely coming up. But back to the story. Every day there are border breaking illegal immigrant personnel that are sitting there laughing every day at how they're going across that border and saying the same canned response. We're trying to escape violence. We're trying to escape violence toward ourselves. We're trying to escape violence from our family members. And then the questions usually not asked, especially by a number of American blacks, they ain't got nothing to do with us. That has nothing to do with American blacks. That has nothing to do with us. No, the American blacks not even saying that. But numbers of American blacks will call border breaking illegal immigrant personnel. How many of them call them people of color and or minority? And every time American blacks call people minorities or including allowing people to put black folks in a generic people of color and minority status, this is exactly what border breaking, legal immigrant personnel, political numbers of political personnel, pro border, illegal immigrant organizations, et cetera, et cetera. This is what they're doing. And it's a sad thing. Numbers of American blacks do not realize what's happening overall, with few exceptions. And this topic of today relating to this border breaking illegal immigrant personnel who was caught with thousands of fentanyl pills. Right? Let me go ahead and read you something on this. It talks about how uh, there was a traffic stop in Colorado, and after this vehicle was spotted with phony plates, the driver of that car was this particular Hispanic uh, guy who was about 30 years old, and he agreed to a search of his vehicle. They said the search yielded an astounding 60,000 fentanyl pills, about 15 pounds worth, and also cocaine and a large sum of cash. Let me repeat this again. When that car was stopped by this particular Hispanic guy who was about 30 years old in this part of Colorado, they said that search yielded an astounding 60,000 fentanyl pills, about 15 pounds worth, and cocaine and a large sum of cash. They said this particular guy, which is Hispanic, was charged with 3 counts of possession with intent to distribute and is currently being held at that time in a particular Colorado County jail on an ICE detainer. He was charged with 3 counts of possession with the intent to distribute and is currently at that time being held at this particular Colorado County jail on an ICE detainer, which means that he was a border breaking illegal immigrant personnel way up there in Colorado from some southern borders. But numbers of American blacks do not understand what is going on right now. But they keep allowing numbers of American blacks keep allowing people to put them inside a people of color minority based category, which is infantile to allow people to put American blacks in a generic category that specifically American blacks can't benefit. Because you ask the question, what does a people of color look like? What does a minority person look like? And again, when numbers of American blacks allow themselves to be put inside a silly people of color and silly generic minority category, which benefits no American blacks overall, this is what supremacy does. But let's continue reading. They talked about how the amount of fentanyl that was seized was enough to take the lives of almost 7 million people. Let me say this again. It was relayed that this amount of fentanyl seized was enough to take the lives of close to 7 million people. They said fentanyl is 50 times stronger than morphine, and overdoses on this drug are now the leading cause of death among 18 to 45-year-old Americans. All of it comes across the Mexican border. Hmm. But people continue to mesmerize numbers of American blacks on a daily basis, getting caught up in drama, nonsensical agenda tactics, emotional responses, and unfortunately, more black pain. And you got people that slot under people of color minority banner ain't thinking about American blacks. Where are these allies at to sit there and push forward toward numbers of political figures to say, hey, the American blacks have been going through so much. They do need a um, reparations of some sort bill, just as the, um, just as this thing where you're in violence against Asians, just as you had Asians, whatever that's supposed to mean, because that's very generic. What does an Asian person look like? Since there's Afro-Asiatic people, but that don't matter in sister supremacy. Who sit back and laugh at American blacks on a daily basis and playing silly games, emotional tactic games toward American blacks who do not realize what these games are going on, and violence against Asians. When, however, generically, when you say Asians, you got a anti-Asian hate crime bill, and you didn't hear no gigantic amount. You didn't even hear a few amount of what we call Asian personnel, whatever that's supposed to mean. Saying, wait a minute, we shouldn't really be getting out. The American blacks have been doing it, been here way before we've been even basically set foot, or we've been such minuscule numbers 300, 400 years ago, right? I say think 300 years ago, right? When it would have been extreme minuscule, not even worth even talking about the number of Asian personnel that would have maybe perhaps would have been in America. since most of the numbers of Asian personnel start coming over after the mid 1800s. American blacks are already over here prior to the 1800s, before even numbers of Asian people were even thought of, whatever that's supposed to mean, because again, there's Afro-Asiatic people. But continuing for what I was reading, again, fentanyl is 50 times stronger than morphine, and overdoses of this drug are now the leading cause of death among 18 to 45-year-old Americans. All of it comes across the Mexican border. And those American blacks don't even realize what's happening. They still don't realize what's going on. Hmm. Give me a second here for a second. Continue the reading. Uh, I'm just going to finish up with that part again. Actually, I want to read something about that part, okay? Let me read you something. Give me a second here. Where it talked about fentanyl, if I can find it again. Let me see if I can find it. Uh, Fentanyl is a Schedule II controlled substance that is similar to morphine, but about 100 times more potent. 1 kilogram of fentanyl has the potential to take at least 500,000 lives. 1 kilogram is equal to about 2.2 pounds. So this border breaking illegal immigrant personnel had was carrying an estimated 60,000 fentanyl piece question mark, right? Because how many times that fentanyl is laced with some other type of ingredient to mix it with fentanyl, and then that also makes it even more deadly, right? But again, he'll be considered a people of color, right? Let me sit there and show you a picture. Let me sit there and show you a picture of. Let me sit there and show you a picture of what the enforcement people stopped this border breaking illegal immigrant personnel. Let me sit there and show. Let me show you a picture of this on this. Who was stopped by enforcement personnel in Colorado. People of color and minority-based category. Let me sit there and show you one other thing for it. Give me 1 second here. Let me sit there and show you something. Because American blacks overall, saying collectively, not a few percentage points, that do not realize what is happening at that southern border, really do not understand.
Sometimes the man who is the most guilty of exploitation will think that you're pointing the finger.
And that's not what I want to replay, but that's a good thing in itself, because it's like the person who tries to change up the dynamic, and they'll point the finger at. And this is what border breaking illegal immigrant personnel also. They try to point some fingers and act like that they are the oppressed people. So breaking border immigration laws equates to somebody becoming oppressed, but at the same time, can American blacks go across the southern borders or any other borders and break immigration laws and then cry foul? Do you see the insulting is how that sound? Because that would not be allowed for American blacks to break border immigration laws, right? Not at all. Look at the number of border breakers jumping out there. How many of them would be considered people of color and minorities? This is an insult. But you got numbers of American blacks still walking around talking about including people like this, because that's what they be included, people of color minority. That's black pain. This is ridiculous. And this is why I say again, the American blacks only have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction of the overall American black culture. Right? Because too many do not realize what is happening right now. And the system supremacy is the most brilliant mental manipulation force on this planet, or the states relating to this part, because it continuously mesmerizes numbers of American blacks to not realize what is happening. Now, I'm not talking about sellout version of gullible ones, right? This is what's happening. The mesmerizing of American blacks overall, right? Because again, you'll have pro illegal immigrant groups, political personnel, various type political personnel who are about allowing border breaking illegal immigrant personnel and then disguise however numbers of calling them migrants and things like that. You got however again pro border breaking illegal immigrant organizations, etc. They'll sit there like, well, but if you talk about them, well, but that's kind of discriminate. Well, that's kind of discriminating against them because they are trying to sit there and just come across, the border and they're just trying to have a better life. And I'm like, get out of here with that game. Get out of here with that game and go straight to hell. Because I observe right through that stuff, left and right. Not playing that game. Because can American blacks again break border immigration laws? Of course not. But again, they think they love, especially black males. Oh, they love sitting there, not seeing any type of American strong black maleness, and it has nothing to do with ego. Because part of being American black and male as well is to sit there and have no less ego and about to be open to try to learn different things and grow your mindset as best as possible and not be a sellout and not be so gullible, right? That is also part of being an American black male. Not what you have, not an educational level, no kind, not all about super titles, not externalism. That's nonsense. There was a thing a few, 1950s, 1960s, I think it was called. It was some little thing they called how to sell to a Negro. So that's not even an issue on that. So again, I hope this was an interesting topic because unfortunately, again, many numbers of American blacks do not realize what is coming toward the American blacks direction. And like this situation right here, this was could have been a very deadly outcome relating to if those fentanyl pills, right, got in the hands of hundreds of thousands, millions of people. How many lives also could have been lost on that? Because this border breaker had what 60,000? What did I sit there and say? This border breaker had an astounding 60,000 fentanyl pills, 15 pounds worth, and cocaine and a large sum of cash. And they're saying that fentanyl is 50 times stronger than morphine. It 50 times stronger than morphine. And they said the overdose on this drug are now the leading cause of death among 18 to 45-year-old Americans, whatever that's supposed to mean, because it's interesting how they make sure to not break that down into race-based or ethnicity. Because back in the 80s, where unfortunately numbers of blacks, especially numbers of black males, were getting hooked on crack cocaine, you had how many? There was no many commercials as they do now talking about, oh, you know what, you basically, getting addicted is not about you. You're not the problem of being addicted, right? Right? No accountability, no responsibility, right? Then, right now, modern times, oh, if you hooked on some drugs or for whatever reason doesn't matter, that it's not your fault. Got to get these resources, got to feel sympathy, right? But American blacks that got hooked on crack cocaine in those 80s and parts of the 90s, it was all about, hey, getting them removed from families, locking them up, and different things like that. Two strikes, three strikes. And you're removed for a long time and locked up, right? How many American black males are still locked up for that, for crack cocaine? How many black males are locked up for weed? Even though right now weed is what they have, what legal, wink, wink, in various types of states. This weed distribution places statewide, right? That you got how many personnel not from the Padam? I mean, quite a number of people from Padamese culture who sit their own weed distillery type places. But American blacks in the 80s were being locked up left and right by using weed. This game is right there in front of the faces, numbers of American blacks that don't even realize what's going on. And this is what, again, various types of people do every day, and they laugh at American blacks overall who don't know the game. Just like in this situation right here, the numbers of American blacks don't even realize this stuff happens daily somewhere, like this border breaking, illegal immigrant personnel, who American blacks would call him a people of color and a minority. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP.